Eric, thank you so much for joining us here at
Thank you.
RiskMinds. There's obviously a lot of conversations this week about machine learning, AI, the proliferation of data. So how is that all being adopted into this industry at the moment?
Yeah. Well, first of all, I think that artificial intelligence and machine learning do present a significant opportunity for risk management. In fact, McKinsey Global Institute, one of our economics arms of McKinsey, had estimated that artificial intelligence and machine learning could constitute upwards of nearly $1 trillion overall globally for the economy. And of that, remarkably, over 1/3 was estimated to come from risk management in banking. The benefits of this are really expected to come from three main areas. The first is reduction of losses in the form of credit or fraud losses, for example, through more predictive models. The second benefit comes from better insight from the data, for example, that can help manage tail risks such as conduct risk or other types of adverse events. And the third area is just around greater efficiency within the risk function.
And I guess it's your job to ensure that that data is the very best data you can have as well, in terms of the quality of what you're using, the quality of the data that's available.
That's right. Having good data is going to be a prerequisite for being able to unlock this talent, and that's actually one of the greatest barriers that we see to adoption at the moment. Banks, because of the way in which they've grown up, still to this day, have generally quite siloed data sources and aren't really able to harness all of the data that it has within its own institution. Being able to integrate this, unify this, is going to be a key enabler to really unlock the potential.
So the key might be seeking out that expertise and having, say, a collaborative approach with people outside the banking world potentially too.
That's right, and increasingly we see banks actually forming collaborations with new forms of industry partners via fintech companies, or even in academia, where they can tap into some of the emerging expertise that's forming in the field of artificial intelligence in those areas.
You talked briefly about good data and the quality of data being one of the barriers to adoption if it's not being sought out properly. What would you say were other barriers, and what do you see as things that are challenging the industry in terms of full adoption at the moment?
Yeah, so I think in addition to the data, I think there's three others that I'd highlight. Number one is around the internal capabilities that risk functions have. Risk functions and risk analytics professionals have historically grown up based on a skill set of statistics and are very proficient in skills like SAS. In order to become a professional in the machine learning and artificial intelligence world, statistics is important, but it also leverages other fields such as computer science and new tools such as Python, R, and cloud-based computing infrastructure. As a result, banks are going to need to upskill their own individuals. As a result, is probably pivot their hiring pipeline to embrace some of these new types of profiles. The second, I think, barrier to adoption is also around some of the infrastructure. So beyond just data. Machine learning loves to have big data far beyond that, which fit within a single PC. As a result, having cloud-based infrastructure is a big enabler. And then I think the third, perhaps less spoken about barrier to adoption, is actually around upgrading the model governance and validation frameworks that banks have in place in order to effectively mitigate some of the new risks associated with machine learning and AI models.
That's my next question really. What risks will this bring? Because anything new is going to bring new risk too.
Yes. Well, machine learning and AI models do bring along heightened risks. They are models, and any model has risks associated with it. In some sense, the risks that come along aren't necessarily new versus models that have been used in the past, but they're certainly enhanced. I think some of the models that reach the headlines very, very frequently are around the risk of bias. Machine learning models can be prone to bias in ways that statistical counterparts are not. And the notorious black box problem that some machine learning models suffer, where the interpretability or transparency as to what leads to a decision is unclear. I think the good news is that technology is progressing, and there are mechanisms now that banks and model validation functions can use to ensure that the bias has been dealt with appropriately and interpretability is provided for to the level of requirement needed.
One of the very positive outcomes of all of this could be as well, as pointed out to me by one of your colleagues earlier, that actually it frees up the time of those at the top of businesses, because these processes will help to make the business more efficient and they may have more time to make other decisions.
I think that's right, and I would actually add that it's not just about freeing up time for individuals at the top of the function, but even day-to-day workers as well. So we see cases where there are tasks that are performed today manually, even as simple as reading information off of a paper contract, that can now actually be effectively fully automated, for example, with tools such as natural language processing. So I think that machine learning, artificial intelligence certainly offers quite a bit of promise to streamlining overall activities in the risk function.
Do you see it as quite an exciting, brave new world?
Very exciting, yes.
It's been great to talk to you. Thank you so much for
Thank you
sharing
very
your
much.
insights.